Hello and welcome back, everybody. This is Mystic Games. We're going to be talking about Relics in Northgard. So, I'm going to go through each of the clans. I have them in order. Yours truly actually made his own tier list for this, finally. So I could actually have all the clans in order and all of the clans unlocked, as I own all the content in the game. I don't have any locks or anything on mine. Anyways, I thought I would do a tier list on Relics, and I thought I'd finally get my own images and make my own tier list, so it's a little bit more clean. We're going to start with the Stag, and we're going to talk about Relics in Power, we're going to talk about Relics in Fun, and we're going to talk about Relics in Identity. I'm a big fan of Identity in this game. This is a Norse mythology type splashed in game with the content, and I do like that to be involved with each clan. So the Stag clan gets a special warrior unit when they build their relic that they can upgrade their military forces into. It consumes more food, but it deals additional damage based on your fame level. So due to the fact that it has to do with fame, which is the big thing that Stag does, super cool. It makes the unit have antlers on its head, super cool. Big buff antler wearing dude coming down the lane. The eating more food is not necessary, I don't think, but where do I rate this power and where do I rate it liking? I would say it's probably an A tier relic. The unit is quite good. The more fame you have, the better it is. It's very on point with the theme, which I like. And I think A is a very strong place to put it. The Goat Relic gives 20% more production during feasts and reduces the cost of feasts by 40%. Very thematic for Goat. Goat is pretty much make sheep pens and make feasts. I think it's a very cool relic. Do I think it is better than Stag? I think Stag is cooler because it has an activatable effect, essentially, whereas this is just a passive. I think I'm going to put it in B. I think it's a pretty solid spot. So this one, Wolf, is very interesting. Wolf has the relic that allows you to summon up to 3 white wolves. And they just fight for you. They're very it's very cool. It's very it goes with the clan, because obviously they're the Wolf clan. They're a combat clan, so it's summoning military units. I'm gonna put it in A. Thematically, it's super cool. Power-wise, I'd probably say it's more of a B, but I do think it's an A just for thematics. So for Raven, they have a really cool one as well. There's summons a giant when you raid. It also gives you immunity to the Kraken event, so that you can just keep using your harbor, which is very strong. Not that the Kraken event's guaranteed, but the giant is nice to have on your raiding crew additionally anyways, every time you drop a raiding squad. So I'm going to actually put Raven in S. They're one of my favorite clans. I actually think the relic is super cool. I do think the giant could have his health buffed up a little bit, and it would be a little cooler, but the bonus of having the Kraken not hit your ships so your harbor can just keep making more money and going out and getting you trade victories is just solid. Next comes Bear. Bear is... I actually have to think about this. It's the Scabbard. It's the Scabbard of Garam, I believe it's called. I believe it freezes everything, so it slows everything when you strike, and it increases your defense and attack by 10%, if I'm right. They're the Winter Clan, so the Scabbard inflicting essentially winter upon you, winter is coming. Pretty solid. Thematically, I think it's pretty powerful as well. It has an AoE swipe. As long as enemies are grouped up, it's very good. If enemies spread out, it's not as strong. Thematically, super cool. It's more of an activatable effect. You need the sword, you need your hero. So power-wise, it's not... It is strong for what it is, but it's not consistent, which is pretty much everybody right here in A. It's very thematic as well. I would actually say it's probably stronger than the White Wolves, and thematically it's about as cool as the White Wolves. So I'm going to put it a little bit above the White Wolves just because I think it's a little bit more useful as a toy to have, but it's not that much better than the Wolves. So next is the Boar. The Boar summons a boar for lore. It also just gives you a passive of additional food. And you can summon the giant boar, but the boar, you can't control it if it gets attacked. So it's more of like a defensive unit. You leave it on a tile to defend, and you just let it go ham on your enemies. That's kind of the purpose of it. That being said, the 6 food's nice. The 150 lore for the boar is fine. Again, I did a video on reworking the boar to make them more of a lore clan. I actually think I would actually change this relic and make it like 2 food and then 4 lore production. And I would reduce the cost on the boar and just make it a summonable effect, because you can't control it when it's in combat. That being said, it is a very cool relic. Like, it kind of does multiple things. I would say it's actually pretty good. Power-wise, I think it's probably up here, honestly, just for what it does, because it has multiple effects. One's passive, which is always good, because passive effects are great. I think the biggest thing is the lore cost for the boar, but it is really thematic as well. It summons a giant boar for the boar clan, using lore, which makes sense. It's one of the few things that makes sense for them, in my opinion. Next is Snake. And Snake gets, all military units get 10% dodge, and they all gain stealth. Super good for what the clan does. Again, this is a very thematic relic. I actually think this fits the clan very well. It's very strong for what it does. The issue is a dodge chance. It's not a guarantee. Stealth is always good because it allows you to move through things. It's very powerful. But the dodge is just like a nice little added bonus, but dodge is not that great. Where would I put this? I think stronger than Wolf and weaker than Bear, maybe. Probably about even with Bear, honestly. But Viper themselves are, or the Snake, sorry, Viper. It's very thematic. It fits the theme. So far, pretty much theme-wise, they're all on point. This is the first DLC, by the way. So now we're moving on to the second DLC. This is the Dragon Clan, Nidhogg. They have a draconic giant that gets summoned, and you can summon multiple. Very cool. What I will say, though, is they are like a dragon-infused giant. And I just don't get a dragon. Just give me a dragon. I'm going to put this in C tier for theme, because really they should have just allowed you to summon dragons. I would have changed made it, like, I know it probably would have been more work to make a whole new image of a body design for a dragon, but it really would have made more sense for them to summon dragons that you could use. I think that would be really cool instead of the giants. Strength-wise, I think it's an A tier, maybe even S tier, because you can keep using it. I'd actually say probably S tier. Should be dragons, though, so C tier for theme, S tier for combat capabilities, as they are a combat clan. Really, just make it dragons. Change that, make it dragons, or make it a mix of dragons or Houghton. That would actually be cool, too. Like, if you summon, like every other summons a dragon, the other one's a giant. That'd be pretty cool. Anyways, next is Horse. And Horse is all about their war chiefs and mining. Pretty much this just makes your war chiefs better. Like by 20% everywhere, like attack, health, defense. I think it even increases their mining and foraging speed by 20%, if I'm correct, if I remember this. It's a pretty solid, it fits the theme of what they do. It's a boring relic, though. It's a passive buff. It doesn't really do anything interactable. So I'm going to put it in B tier. I like relics that kind of... It's okay to be a passive, because I think passives are very strong. But I also think it's nice to get something cool that kind of happens with the relic as well. that, you know, like I summon a unit, or, you know, like visually does something, like even like an art for the changes the war chiefs, you know what I mean, makes them into like a horse head or something. You know, I'm just speaking out, but like I don't think that would be really cool. But I think something like to the level of doing that, or put them on a mount, that would be interesting. Give them like a speed boost too, and then put them on horses, both the war chiefs, like they could ride around on horses. That would actually be A tier for me. I think it's very useful, and I think it works. Thematically, it does work. I think it's just a boring relic. I think power-wise, it probably is. It requires your war chiefs. It is a good. It's probably somewhere in A. I'm putting it in B for theme, though. It suits it, but it doesn't do anything cool. There's no cool effect there with the theme. Next is Kraken. Pretty much Kraken allows you to force the Kraken event, which is a nice little bonus. It destroys all the enemies' ships. Super thematic, right? Summoning the Kraken to destroy the enemies. The issue is your enemies have to have shipyards, and generally marketplaces and marketplaces and trading posts are more efficient unless you're going for a sea victory, which the only ones that would do that would be Raven, and they're immune to this. So yeah, thematically S tier. How good it actually is, probably B tier. It's actually probably one of the worst, because the activating the Kraken event only is helpful if your enemies have shipyards. It would actually be interesting if they did some sort of like the Kraken, if there's no shipyards, it attacks a coastal zone and just starts slamming down its octopi on an enemy coastal zone, and you get resources that way or something. And it would be a lot better that way. Next is Ox. Ox is the Torfin, I beat you up and I'm very strong war chief clan. It's a combat clan, big buff guys, that's what it's all about. This is your manly man clan right here. What it does is it gives Torfin, like, it's called provocation. Pretty much he yells, and everybody on the tile that you're in or with him, like enemy-wise, will then target him for a 6-second limit, I believe. And during that 6 seconds, he gains 100% armor. So he just becomes a giant wall. It's very good, but it's very on point, right? Like with Ox. But it's not. It's not. I don't want to say it's very strong, because I don't think it is. I think it's good, but it depends on how many enemies you're facing. Because if you're facing a lot of enemies, when you just turn them all on you, even if you have super high defense, you might just die. Like you'll just take a ton of damage. We're gonna put this in thematically. I think it's solid. Do I think it's strong? I think it's better than Kraken. I don't think it's that strong though. I would probably put it in the top though, just because it is a control, which makes it very good. Next is Lynx. I think Lynx is super boring. If I remember, I gotta read it real quick. Let me find it in my little list here on the side I have going on. Yeah, so what they do is they leave a trap, and it slows and damages units in it for 20 seconds. Thematic, kind of thematic, I guess, because they are trappers. Boring, though. Like, excitement level is pretty low. Thematically, it's okay. I think their clan overall thematically is really good. Like, summoning the lynxes that fight for you and stuff. But because you already have that, the relic doesn't do that, right? So you have the relic just doing some sort of trapping thing that, you know, the clan does. It is. I'm not going to say it's weak, because I don't think it is. I think it's actually decent. It's kind of similar to like what Torfin does, right? It's a controlled damaging thing. But this one doesn't require any units to die. It just requires you to kind of hold them on that tile. It allows you to kind of trap units on a tile in a sense, and then kill them as they if they start to lose, they can flee, but then they're going to be slowed. It's arguably probably a B tier for how good it is. but it works. This one would work better, just as good with a smaller amount of enemies as it would with large enemies. The issue is if they realize there's a trap and they set it off and they immediately leave, it's useless. Overall, I'm going to put it in B tier. I'm going to put it in A. I think it could be, or yeah, A tier of B tier, right? I'm putting it in front of Ox because I think it's better for most situations, but I could see situations where the Ox is better. Next is Squirrel. The Squirrel clan is pretty intricate. I know it let's bring it up here. So the Squirrel clan is, it becomes Yggdrasil's roots become Eldritch every 4 months, and they spread to a zone, right? So you gain benefits from those zones for having Eldritch zones. I wish I took a screenshot of the Eldritch zones actually for this, because that would be cooler to see. It turns like blue with a bunch of trees. Enemies that enter the zone also have a chance to fight themselves. So the theme for this is really cool. Like the way it looks on the map, it's very similar to the owl. Oh my god, the owl. So thematically, I don't think it fits the squirrel. Funnily enough, like the theme of it actually doesn't fit. Power's actually probably A or S because it does like basic kind of passives and it spreads to each zone, and it's also a combat buff as well. I'm going to put it in the top of A because I don't know if it's that good, but it's pretty solid. And the randomly having your enemies kill themselves is just funny. Next is the Rat Clan. They summon Garm at a shaman camp, and as long as the shaman camps are burning, you have Garm. Garm is a pretty strong combatant unit. I'm actually going to put this in S. It's a pretty good unit. As long as you have your pyres burning, Garm is solid. Once your pyres go out, he just dies. The issue is you really should never let your fires burn out. But thematically, cool. I don't know who Garm is. You know, funnily enough, I always talk about lore here. I don't know who Garm is. I'm going to have to actually look that up. See if that's a character that they made or if he actually exists in lore. I actually don't know. But I do think it's a cool idea. It summons like a big monster. It's like a better version of the boar in my opinion, except it dies when the flame goes out, whereas this you just lose control of it. Next is Eagle. Eagle's super boring. I know it's like you collect caches. It's actually super complicated. Let's pull it up here. So I know it's you collect caches, right? So they become better caches. Each time you open one, you get 2% attack power. It goes up to 10%. When you open forbidden caches, also gives all your units in the zone an additional attack bonus. Yeah. Super situational and super boring. It is relatively thematic because mainly what they do is they collect caches, but I don't think it's... Honestly, Kraken is just bad, so it's going to beat Kraken. But this is so situational. Like, so you're going to get a 10% bonus eventually anyways. Like, you're going to get that, which is solid. It's just extra 10% attack power. It's not a bad thing. But getting a bonus when you're opening a cache means you have to have a cache on a zone that you're going to need to fight on. And how often is that actually going to happen? I'm actually putting Kraken in C. Power-wise. Because most of I'm kind of doing it thematic, but I'm ending on what the power I think of the relic is, so where I'm actually placing them. Thematically, okay. Power-wise, okay. Yeah. Next is the Lion. We'll pull up. We might as well just pull them up as I'm doing them. Clan units who have died within the Lance's zone can be revived in exchange for faith. Okay. Not a bad relic, but you need to be in the Lance to use it, which means you only can use it if you die in the zone with the relic. Very good theme. I would say it's like an A level of theme, because they're all about faith and then healing and yada yada yada. power-wise, I think it's probably C. This actually might be as bad as the Kraken. It's so situational. I think it's bad. I think it's C. I normally don't get this relic, by the way. The Stout has access to all the relics, like all the basic relics, but they don't have access to their own. I'm going to give them D, simply because they don't really have their own relic. They only have the generic relics, and that's boring. They have some really cool like ideas with the whole having a lord that looks over a fiefdom, you know, like a tile. It's the fiefdom, and I think that's such a cool idea. And then they get no relic. So what we need to do is go back and give them a relic that has to do with supervising your fiefdoms. That's what I say. And then I can give that a better rating. Let's pull up Owl. Owl is really cool, so let's pull it up and read it. So, upgraded zones grow a forest and attract deer and fish. They provide more happiness. Upgrading a zone now costs 50 lore. So the best way to use this that I've learned in my time is to upgrade the zones you want to upgrade before you have to pay the lore cost. And then you get the relic and they all just get all these bonuses on them. Essentially, you just get bonuses from having forest, deer, and fish from the Owl clan in general. So this just improves all their buffs. Thematically, does it fit? I guess so, because you're summoning, like, essentially Yggdrasil all around you. That's what it's doing. So thematically, it looks very cool. Is it good? Yes, it's good. It actually really does help the clan to have forest, deer, and fish on all your upgraded zones, and it just buffs everything up. It is actually pretty powerful, I'd say. I'd probably put it up with... Squirrel. It's kind of the similar idea, except it's just a base buff. There's no damage like to the enemy going on. But it is just really cool looking. I do like it. I think it's solid for the clan. It really helps them. I almost consider it like a necessary relic to make the clan really function well. Anyways, last but not least, we have the Hound. Let's pull up the Hound. The Hound is actually pretty complicated. It's a pretty big one. Berserkers can transform into their animal counterparts. While their animal form, they gain cloaked, and they consume less resources, generally food. When Berserkers transform back into their human form, enemy units in the zone are scared off for 1 second, and the Berserker gains 15% attack power and defense for 4 seconds. The fear should be longer, and I would argue that you could probably give them like a 5-second and it would still be fine. Anywho, the Hound are like, they gain power from animals. That's their whole spiel. So it is thematic, turning into the animal form and then shape-shifting out of the animal form to fear and gain a buff is pretty cool. The ability to disrupt your enemy's unit's control is very good. I think this is a very strong relic. It's thematic, it's strong. I'm trying to think. It does kind of look cool, right? Because it allows you to like turn into an animal. Yeah, I'm going to put this in S. I think overall this is just an S relic. Hound is pretty solid. Their relic makes sense. And the more I look at it, the more I like it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this Northgard tier list. I'm going to be doing a Raven run shortly on this channel just to show you guys some Raven gameplay. We'll probably do a trade victory because that's what they go for. And I hope to catch you guys in the next one. Like, subscribe if you enjoy, and I'll see you later. Keep on raiding, guys.